गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी गोना Today is the ninth day of the Iran and Israel conflict with the US overhang, and we're going to take a review. There's some kind of a pause, and we're going to take a review. And for this review, I've invited Retd Dahiya, who started the war along with us, or rather, he joined in on the first day of the war, and we had a terrific discussion. And he's been to that area. He knows the area. After all, like I said, he's been DA in Turkey. So he knows a lot of things there. So it is with this in mind, I said, let's do this review with Brigadier Daya. Sir, thanks a lot for joining in and welcome to Gunner Shot once
Thanks.
again. I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to this review. Right. And before we start the discussion and your views, I'll just go over a few issues which have happened and, where we are. Mota mota. USA is ready for the war, but as you know, it's not entered it. Trump is yet to make a decision. He said 2 weeks more. So that gives a lot of thinking time. There are hopes for a deal. Right. Well, rather, Trump hopes for a deal, but continues preparation. Maybe he wants better options for decision. There are international calls for de-escalation. Uh, there's a European push for, stopping this war, but nothing has happened. Bombing campaign has pushed, Iran, as per Israelis, at least 2 to 3 years behind in terms of nuclear options which they can generate. Right? They're exchanging strikes. While Iran has not been able to penetrate Israel, Israel has penetrated Iran sufficiently. Interestingly, there was a 5.1 scale earthquake today. And of course, Khamenei has named three successors so that if any one of them get knocked off, there is a hope that at least, one will succeed. And, this area of this earthquake, if you see, this is the area of the earthquake which has happened. This is as per the USGS site. It's a place called Semnan. And it's as per the details, it's 10 kilometers underneath. And all the nuclear sites are in this area between Qom and Tehran. Qom is where Fordo is. So, and Iraq is here. So it's somewhere far away. Though there will be people who will say, oh, Iran has carried out a nuclear test and all that. But I personally don't believe so. We can discuss it. This is the broad thing. So you can take it from wherever, sir. But I think we could probably start with the Americans, why they went into this, pause, and what are the things in their mind. You could give your mind on it, and then we'll take it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shankar, for having me again on this podcast. Uh, Now, this conflict, in addition to what other conflicts are happening all around the world, some of which are forgotten because of this conflict, like for example in Sudan, uh, even Russia-Ukraine conflict is being talked less and lesser these days, and the world's attention is focused on basically Iran-Israel conflict. Uh, Now, it's more or less clear that Israel took America on board with regard to its operation. But I don't think America gave them a green light to go ahead with its own participation. They probably said, okay, if you want to go ahead, but we are not into it, at least as of now. Now, there are various interpretations people are making of it. Some people say that Netanyahu insisted that this is the time to do it. Iran is at its weakest, and that we can really sort of set off their nuclear program, set back their nuclear program by many years, if not totally eliminate. But his all along, his choice of words, his timing, and everything else was basically with the aim to nudge America into this conflict. You see, he understands fully. It's not just a question of uh, the the deep ordnance penetrators or something like that. It's much beyond that. His aim is, as he has indicated a number of times, directly and indirectly, is regime change. As far as nuclear weapons are concerned, now his first recorded conversation on this belongs to, I think, 95 or 96, when he said that Iran can make nuclear weapons in 3 months or time like that. Now he has been saying that for last about 30 years. If either the Iranians are so incompetent that they were in a position to make a nuclear bomb in 1995 and they have not been able to make so far, or else the sanctions program on them has been so successful that the Iranians haven't been able to move a finger. None of this seems to be true. The fact is that Iranians do have their challenges. It's not easy to fabricate a nuclear weapon and present it to the world. It's very complicated. There are so many moving pieces in it. So Iran hasn't really mastered that so far. That's number one. Number two, I would personally say that Iranians probably did not even were not even sincere or serious about going nuclear. They were probably, well, they were getting ready, all right, but if they could get sanctions relief, if they could get a reasonable place in the Committee of Nations, they would probably do without nuclear weapons because they think that making nuclear weapons creates huge amount of problems for them. Uh, and their position would be better off if they get sanctions relief and the economy takes off again and they're permitted to export oil and gas. So they would be much better, and the regime would get better traction with the population because then they could take care of the population's requirements. They've suffered a lot actually. Now that was so Israel probably thought that once the war starts, and since they had penetrated Iranian intelligence system very well, and killing of Haniyeh actually proved that uh, conclusively, and killing of the nuclear scientist Fakhrizadeh showed their technical prowess as well as their ability to penetrate Iran deeply. So they probably thought that once they gain initial success and paralyze Iranians' command and control system, both military and civilian, then Trump, given his character, given his personality, would be probably more willing to jump in to share credit and say that, look, here we are, and we have got this done. We have been giving time to Iran to come clean, to stop processing uranium. They did not really listen to us, and here is the punishment. And that's why he set off a time period of 60 days initially for negotiations and things like this. But if you also look at it, Trump is also not somebody's. I mean, he doesn't really listen to the listen to the Israelis like many other people have done before. You see, he ordered a ceasefire with Houthis without taking Israelis on board. He started negotiations with Iran, despite the fact that it was he who repudiated this, who tore off this 2015
Nuclear
JCPOA.
deal, yeah.
Yes, and it was he, this man, who, when he visited Middle East recently, he did not go to Israel simultaneously. In fact, Israelis were taken by surprise by some of his announcements, including selling huge quantity of military equipment both to Qatar and to Saudi Arabia. And in fact, they protested also against that. So, in a way, Trump is also his own man. He has his failings. He's looking for sort of recognition, like a Nobel Prize
Nobel
or
Prize,
something
yeah.
like that. And now that complicates the issue. His desire for Nobel Prize and his stated goals of bringing peace to the world and keeping the American army out of the harm's way actually becomes a stumbling block if he decides to go to war tomorrow. Now, besides that, now there are, I mean, people say, and rightly, that Israeli lobby is very strong. Jewish lobby is very strong in America. And it's also true that many people, like if anybody has heard Ted Cruz
Yeah.
talking on so one could say that there are many people who are absolutely have no clue of what they're talking, but they are blindly supporting Israel, and they've been doing it for ages. So there are people of all kinds in America. After all, it's a diverse society, and people have their point of view. There are many people in America who also feel that Israel has been complicating their foreign policy in the region. And I have heard this personally when I was with in Ankara, Damascus, and Beirut as a DA. That's the time I used to hear that very often from my American counterparts and some other Americans who say that Israel actually is creating a problem. Like, for example, we say that sometimes Madeshis create a problem for us, our foreign policy with regard to Nepal. So similarly, Israel creates a huge amount of problem for them with regard to American foreign policy in the Middle East. They restrict Israel restricts their choices. Now, so what happens is that there's a there's a strong element amongst the MAGA, Make America Great Again kind of a crowd, the conservatives, who detest American involvement in the wars of others. They don't like it. And that's why Steve Bannon and others have been against, openly speaking about not joining Israel in the war in Iraq. Besides that, of course, there's also a question of legitimacy. What business does Israel have to start, attacking Iran all of a sudden? I mean, another sovereign nation. Israel has its security concerns. Those security concerns have more or less been addressed by neutralization of Hezbollah and Hamas. And I mean, I can't deny them the right to think that Iran still poses an existential threat to them. But the way they are going about doing it, the way they are threatening assassination of the head of state, the way they are talking of regime change and all this, I don't think that's their business. And in fact, they have complicated this whole affair for themselves, because the Iranian people, even those who are against the regime and have been protesting against the regimes, are rallying behind the behind the flag, because they are a proud nation. They don't want to be told by others. Like recently, a lady who won the Nobel Prize, much against Iran's wishes, of course. She has said, "We want change. We don't want a change brought about by bombing from outside. We want to do it ourselves." Now, people have to understand that. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, he has said that, look, he'll make a decision in 2 weeks. I don't think that's music to Netanyahu's ears. They were probably thinking that he would come on board after initial success of Israelis in uh, dominating the skies over Tehran and other places in that. Obviously, they are dominating because, irrespective of what we say, Iranians do not have good air defense,
Yeah.
and it's a huge territory. It's not a small territory. The best weapon, air defense weapon they had was S-300, not even S-400. So that were taken out in October also, and rest of it have been taken out now. So obviously, the Israelis can fly their planes or Israel. And Syria and Iraq, the territory over which they have brought they keep bringing the aircraft time and again, are in no position to resist that. So, considering that, Israelis have done a good job, but also please understand this: it's for the first time ever that Israeli homes and labs and hospitals have also
I've been
been
hit.
bombed. Never before have Israeli population felt this pain. They are feeling this pain now. Although it's also true that Israelis also, after the war is joined, Israeli population also, many of whom don't like Netanyahu, are also rallying around their flag. The question is, how many bombs will Netanyahu continue to drop on Iran? Although they've got a lot of munitions from America, quite a lot of which has been used against hapless Gazans. But there is a limit, after all. How much of it can he bomb? How many aircrafts can he keep sending a day after day, day after?
There's a
And the
limit.
element of
He might
surprise,
have. He doesn't have more. I mean, there's a finite limit to how many bombs he can put in a particular day and how much he can
exactly,
have.
exactly.
At some at
And the
at some point,
surprise
he's going to
element is
run out.
lost. So, yes, and
Yeah.
surprise element is lost. So now the Iranians, I'm sure, would have taken precautionary measures with regard to protecting their leadership, protecting their missiles, and I'm sure they haven't put everything over ground for Israelis to come and destroy. People are also saying that one arrow missile, anti-ballistic missile, costs $3 million. I don't think any of the missiles that Iran is shooting cost $3 million. So, by rough estimates, people say on the military expenditure alone, on not only military expenditure, only on air defense elements alone, there's an expenditure of about $385 million a day. Now, that is not something that Israel can sustain, despite the fact that they've already got more than $20 billion worth of finances from America for executing its war on Hezbollah and against the Palestinians. But the fact is that how long will America keep paying also? And if, for example, if oil prices go up and the inflation in America goes up to 5, 6, 7%, and then what will happen is that even American capacity to spend much more on this will be reduced, because even Trump's own supporters who have
Are
been
against him.
against intervention by America are going to come out in open. I mean, when Tulsi Gabbard, for example, made a statement, she's one of those non-interventionists. All right, but she's politically not a big player, so he can afford to say no, I don't agree with her, or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is that things can be complicated if the other strong voices from the conservatives come out and say, what business do you have to go there? So what I think Israelis hope that when Trump has given 2 weeks' time, he probably will come on board after 2 weeks. And therefore, they hope that at most they have to continue fighting for 2 more weeks and continue causing more and more damage to that. But some other people feel that Trump has been zigzagging right from day one. He can zigzag again. This is not a red line as far as he's concerned, this 14 days deadline that within 14
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
In 14 days at a time, he can also say, well, I have decided that there's no use going after them. Now, what are his other constraints? 30 odd thousand troops deployed in Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. All these are within range of swarm of drones that Iran can conjure up out of nowhere. I don't think the Americans would love to have body bags going
Back.
by C-130s or so C-17s. They wouldn't like that. So this is one reason why it can happen. The second is that although they can destroy Fordo by using 30,000 pound bombs, deep penetrators or deep ordnance penetrators, they can do that. But first of all, what does it do with the already enriched 400 kgs of highly enriched uranium? You think they are keeping it for Fordo or Natanz? What happens to the people who has it in their minds? What happens to many other secret places where they would have established their nuclear sort of establishments? They would have it. And then what happens, for example, if Iran says IAE inspectors are no more required here and we are walking out of NPT, how do you force those people there? Will those guys, will Iran not physically pick them up and throw them out, if not imprison? What will be the response from Trump for that? Do you think the bombs alone, dropped by air or missiles, ballistic missiles or something, will be able to subdue Iran? So what will it become? It will become a war of attrition. American troops going into Iranian territory is no. Even if Munir gives them a permission, it's a no, because American people would not want their troops in the harm's way. And they cannot walk over Iran. Iran is a much stronger, much proud, much more experienced nation. The 8 years of Iran-Iraq war, when they were subjected to chemical weapons, when the whole of world was behind Saddam Hussein in subduing these, when their military literally didn't exist because Khomeini had disbanded their Shah's army, when nothing of that was happening, and the untrained people are just going and picking up a weapon from the dead soldier. They didn't even have enough weapons for two-man episode. They sustained that for 8 years when the widows and young girls had to get involved in marriages with contract marriages with one person, 4 5 ladies with one person, basically because there were not enough young people to marry. When they tolerated that kind of a thing and survived, so if anybody thinks that by destroying Fordo, this system will collapse, I don't think so. Then there are also chances that Iran may, in fact, the hardliners may get strengthened because of this. I mean, because they have nothing to lose, no prestige involved, no nothing involved. Now look at this. What UK and Germany and France tried to negotiate something like this. This is what they're trying to do. Look, they can't justify, for example, to anybody in the world that they were party to the 2015 agreement, and yet they didn't could not stop Trump from walking out of it. So they could do anything. On the other hand, they're telling Iran that look, you don't do anything to go against the provisions of the agreement is hypocritical. It doesn't mean a thing, and Iranians understand that. But at the same time, my understanding of their statements and what they have been doing for last 9 days is that Iran is trying desperately to avoid getting America into the war. Although they are saying that America will have to pay a price in case they enter the war, and that's the right thing to say, that cautionary thing. But they have done nothing. They have not blocked Hormuz so far. They have not stopped, anybody's oil being exported. They have not harmed American troops or anything like that. They haven't been sort of saying obtuse things about Trump. Trump has been saying, for example, one of his tweets on the Trump social was unconditional surrender. I mean, that's not a language of a statesman in any case, and that's not how you talk to a country. And he's not at war with Iran. He simultaneously also says that we are in touch with Iran. So we are continuously in touch with Iran. He says that, and on the other hand, says unconditional surrender, and that we have got complete control over the skies, as if it is his place or his air force is also involved in exercising control. So it's an ambiguous kind of a statement. I think some people, Israelis hope that he is in a way being it's a shadow play that he's trying to do with the Iranians, and that he has made up his mind to go to join the war after 2 weeks. But that's a fond hope. I don't think that is a fact. Nobody knows his mind. He takes decisions with the help of very few people, after consulting very few people. So he can take a decision either way. But I'm sure that he's going to consider that he will be putting American troops in the region in the harm's way, that he will be annoying a large section of his supporters, conservatives. And if anything else, analyze his personality. This man doesn't belong to elites. Establishments are always controlled by elites. He has come to power by really abusing the elites and by saying that he is not an elite and he's going to undo the deep state and all that kind of a thing. So therefore, this guy seeks recognition. Yes, this guy uh, is very conscious of the public opinion. To my mind, he'll be worried about what his supporters think about him, and that is why the delay in taking decision one way or the other. Whereas he has the pressure from the established players in the American society, with the arms lobby, probably the Jewish lobby and others. So there is a pressure on the other side. But on the other side, he's worried about his the public perception, what the people are going to think about him and all that. So for him to take a decision is not easy. It's going to be a difficult decision. Now, that's as far as American position is concerned. The second thing that one really needs to think is what are the possible scenarios in case, whether there can be a de-escalation, or if what happens if Trump joins in, and what does Iran do thereafter. Now, one of the scenarios people say that there can be a de-escalation for 2 3 reasons, and they're citing 2 3 reasons. One, Israel sought a off ramp by saying that we have put off Iranian nuclear program by 2 to 3 years. So that takes away the justification from Israelis to continue this war. They can claim victory on the basis of this statement to say that we will deal with other things later in case they still continue with their nuclear activities. But as of now, we have put it off by 2 3 years. So imminent danger, which they were saying that within 10 days, Iranians can assemble a bomb. They themselves are saying that they have put it off to 2 to 3 years time. So
So
that's an off ramp
if
they are seeking.
so, there that yeah, that's what I
And this off
came
ramp,
to. So
yeah,
now that the thing, see, so I mean, let's put it after what we've spoken. One thing is very clear that neither has an upper hand. No one has an upper hand at this point of time. Iran and Israel are just trading blows and expending their ammunition. Trump, I'm at least I'm. It's very clear for me that he's not going to enter in a hurry this war, and most probably he will not enter. And most probably he's not entered this war so far to let these chaps take some heat off each other and get low on their ammunition and then start discussing. Right. So
I think you
far,
are very right. Yeah, well, let me just add something to this place. Uh, so if he's not very fond of Netanyahu, which although the Israelis are saying that he's very fond of Netanyahu, and Netanyahu says I keep talking to him so often, but it also seems that I don't think he is very fond of Netanyahu, and there's a
yeah,
reason. Because if Netanyahu is restricting his choices and is forcing his hand,
he
which is
won't
not
like it, sir.
popular with his voters, he won't like it.
He won't like
So
it.
he would much rather have Netanyahu and Khamenei both feel a little more humble. That is one part. The second part is, look, he is looking for recognition. He is looking for success. He wants to claim success, either by bringing these guys to negotiating table and saying, look, I prevented a war. That is one. Or second, he probably wants that, look, by his bluster and threat in being, if we can make the Iranians come to the negotiating table and make them sign on a deal which restricts their sort of enrichment to
Enrichment.
0 or 3.6, he can still claim victory. So he wants to claim victory without fighting, without entering the war. That is his best choice that he can make. That's what he'll try and do. So I personally feel that next 14 days that he has bought for himself by laying a deadline, I think it's for this that he'll try and seek some kind of a via media wherein both these guys get exhausted and ask for peace, sue for peace, or else the Iranians come to the table and say, "Look, we are ready to sort of sign on a
Yeah,
deal."
I go with you completely, sir. Let's look at each chaps. Now we've seen this thing. Let's look at the Iranians. What do you think they will do next? You see, can you hear? Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think the Iranians, what are the options for Iranians? I'm also clear, like what you discussed, that Iran is not going to keel over. And cannot be invaded because the Zagreb Mountains and the Isfahan Mountains are too high. And you need a lot of energy to get across these defense lines. Even marginal defenses will hit you. And I don't think America is prepared for a war. I don't think Israel is capable of invading Iran. I mean, let's be very clear. I don't see any chance of, ground action going in. It'll only be aerial action at best. We also know aerial action doesn't bring about regime change so easily. I mean, that is also, so it's never happened in history. So given this, it only seems maybe in the next 5 6 days, like you said, well, like you rightly pointed out, now Israel saying that it'll take 2 3 years more for anything to happen. Their nuclear program has been set back by 2 years. Is giving an off ramp. If it is not there, get an off ramp. Similarly, Iran also offered an off ramp. Look, we will talk, but stop the war. That's their thing.
yes.
So they've also given that off ramp thing. So given this kind of a situation, I mean, let's take is Iran. What are the options for Iran at this point of time? Let's look at it from that point of view. And then we'll see what are the options for Israel, and then we'll see what the options for USA are.
See, as far as Iran is concerned, last time also I spoke, they do not have very many good options. Because the best actually option for them would be for the Israelis to stop sending their aircraft to attack them, and take Israel to a position where Israel cannot defend itself against the barrage of Iranian missiles. Now, none of that is going to really happen. Uh, the intensity will go down. The density of air defense cover on Israel will go down because I don't think they can ramp up the production so fast to really meet the requirement. They'll go down, but they would always every army, as you know it very well, you always have your reserves. You always keep your reserves which you don't touch till everything is gone. So you will have that, and they will also procure. And there are people like Metz, for example, the German chancellor, for example, who has said that
Merch, yeah.
they'll help Israel. So he'll go and help Israel. So he'll divert some things which are meant for Ukraine. He'll probably divert to Israel because they probably, I think they haven't got out of the guilt complex
Oh,
of
yeah.
the 1940s. So he'll do that. Some others will do that, but many others are keeping their counsel and they're keeping themselves away from this. So that's right. So, and not being able to send, America won't be able to send troops because there's no NATO country that's going to follow them into Iran. Nobody else is going to follow them. So that one can rule out very safely. So now the options with Iran are: one is surrender, of course, to say yes, we are sorry,
And the, yeah.
and say we'll give up everything, we'll sign, we will not sort of enrich uranium at all, and all that kind of a thing. Okay, and not only that, the demand is then going to increase that they will also forego their ballistic missile program, which has been raised from time to time. So it is not only the nuclear
Nuclear.
issue, also ballistic missiles. So everything. So as far as Netanyahu is concerned, he would like to defang Iran totally, and he will of course want
Totally.
a regime change, and then be invited there as chief guest on their national day. He would probably want that. So that is probably one option if Iran would like to, which we can rule it out that they're never going to do that.
Yeah.
The second option for them, of course, is also to resist Israel, give them back to the extent that they can, keeping them their own people secure, and whatever measures they can take, and make sure that they do not get Trump involved into this war. That will be the basic thing. I think at this particular time, the most important consideration they will have is not to have America involved in this because they do understand very well that Americans can't come over there, but American do other kind of harm. They can definitely set back their nuclear program much more deeply. Secondly, the Americans can at least galvanize their European friends that not with troops but economic measures and all that. They can also probably bomb all oil refineries and supply centers and ports and things of that nature. So Americans can cause much, much more damage to Iran. So they don't want to burn their bridges with America. So that was another option that they come to they convey to the Americans, which they have in a way said. Like for example, when they said the foreign minister says that if Trump wants, one phone call can stop the war.
Yeah.
So he's
So,
in a way.
I mean, the way I look at it, from what I can make out from what you said, also, the Iranians probably will start taking an off ramp in the next 2 3 days. That's your guess.
Possible. I think before, much safer to say, before the 14-day deadline
Okay,
expires,
yeah, I
because they will
expect
be giving an
after two
off-ramp
three
to
days,
America also.
America also. Yeah,
They will be
everyone wants an
they will
off
be
ramp
giving
in this. Off
so they
ramp
will
to
be giving an
America
off-ramp
also.
to America also to say
Yeah,
that look, you said 14 days, we have come around in 14 days.
yeah,
So that is second option. Third option
yeah.
is total defiance and says, look, not only that we will not talk before the war stops, before we are attacks on us stops. I mean, signing on a deal on the dotted line is also ruled out. That I would personally feel that they would not say it before the end of these 14 days. That they would say it only if America makes a choice of going to war, if it joins the war. Then, of course, everything, all bets are off. So the third option for Iran, therefore, becomes that they remain defiant and they say, look, we have been attacked. We never attacked anybody. And therefore, if somebody has to stop if somebody wants an agreement with Iran, then that somebody should
Stop the war.
sort of stop the war. Now, for that,
Okay.
they have certain sort of tools at their disposal. One of the tools, of course, is this: that uh, they know that if America joins the war, their own oil facilities and all that will be destroyed, and for quite some time, their oil will be taken off the market. So therefore, the economists, probably those, particularly those who deal with energy markets, they feel that uh, the Brent, etc., would be going up to $130 a barrel or something like that. Despite the fact that many other countries, including Russia and including USA, would be ramping up their production to meet the shortfall. But as you know, the prices are more based on sentiments than actual availability. Because if that happens, then Iran, in any case, would close the Strait of Hormuz. They would do that. There will be, of course, more intense bombing, both by Israelis and the Americans, on suspected ballistic missile sites,
Yeah.
suspected
So
nuclear sites, and
that
all
goes
that.
nowhere. So that goes
Nowhere. That
nowhere
goes
for
nowhere.
Iran also. Yeah.
So that's the third
So
option that is Iran has. All
that's it.
three have problems.
All three have
All
problems. So
three.
let's see where it goes. Let's look at the Israeli options.
Israeli option, the best case scenario for them is Trump this night says, "I'm attacking Fordo," and therefore and if Iran does not publicly commit that they will sign a deal committing for zero enrichment and of course stopping ballistic missile production, we will do this and that. So Israel will be very happy with that. So that is their first option, first choice. The second thing for them would be that they somehow sustain this war long enough, 14 days, they survive for these 14 days, and then they go back to their supporters in US and they appeal to President Trump to say that, look, we've gone to war not only for our own sake, but for world peace,
So yeah,
because we
yeah,
didn't want the whole of
yeah.
Middle East to go
Mhm.
nuclear, like Saudi Arabia and Turkey following Iran thereafter. So we don't want that. And we have done that. And therefore, we now need an offering. And so therefore, you force Iranians to get them on the table and make them sign a deal. So they will claim that also as a success, that we have set off set back the program by 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and now Iran has signed a deal which will be on under much more intense scrutiny of IAEA and other this thing. So that is the second thing. The third choice that they have is to tell the Americans, whether you join the war or not, we will continue. As if you remember, the defense minister recently made a statement that Israeli population should be ready for a long conflict.
Long war,
Now
long
that
war.
long war. So that's what they are probably also contemplating, that the choice will not be with them whether to stop it or not. Iran may decide to continue firing on them thereafter. If Iran
So
comes
yeah,
to conclusion
yeah.
that if
Let me
Iran comes to
let me
conclusion
put
that
it this
Israel
way,
has
sir.
burnt.
Israel can only continue the war. I mean, the way I look at it, it can continue doing this, and it can, it's only an exchange of fire, continuation. But can Israel do something? They go in, insert a few commando type of actions, and do everything and come out. Is it within their capability?
Well, I don't know
Special action.
if 1978 is any indication. There are risks involved,
Yeah, there
very
is
serious
risks.
risks, but
Mhm.
particularly because now there is no what should I say, surprise left. And second thing, of course, is the Israelis and the Iranians would have rounded up a large number of suspects,
Defenses, yeah.
and the Israeli agents will be very, very careful in Iran. So
Mhm.
carrying out a coordinated kind of a thing is difficult. But despite that, since they have control over the skies, inserting people is still possible, because escorted by fighters and all that, they would probably be able to do that. Whether they can do any major damage is doubtful.
Right.
Uh, I don't think that
Okay.
will happen.
So let's get to the American options. I mean, we've discussed America. America doesn't want to get into war. Though it's an option, they don't want to get into war. If they get into war, there's a problem. Let's can we discuss one option? It's the in-between option. In-between option is America says, okay, I'll come in, I'll bomb Fordo, I'll bomb Natanz, and do nothing else. After that, you prosecute the whole thing. Is that feasible?
Yes, yeah, of course they can do that. They can say that, look, we have been asking you, they can tell the Iranians, we've been asking you to stop your nuclear activities. You haven't done. We have enough reason to believe, even if they don't have any evidence, they can still say, after all, even during Op Desert Storm, they did that. I mean, that Iraq possesses nuclear weapons, nuclear, chemical, biological weapons, NBC weapons. Now, so that they can say, look, we understand, we know, we are certain that you are doing active, continuing to do this activity, and we want you to totally stop it immediately and make a commitment. If you don't do that, we will have to destroy these. So yes, they can do that, and
That
probably that will satisfy
that
Israeli
is,
supporters in.
and it'll also satisfy his own supporters of not getting into an active war. So,
But
I
even
mean,
that,
the more I think
just imagine what's going to happen as a result of this. The moment you do this, the chances of Iran walking out of NPT are very
is
bright.
gone.
Even then,
No,
it's
no,
gone,
sir.
and they will
The
throw out the
moment
inspectors.
I have no doubt about it. What even this in between option is not easy. It's in fact more. It's one of the most
Absolutely,
difficult options. But for many people,
absolutely.
it might be the most easy option and the most politically suitable
Easy option
option.
to take. Easy option to. You see, often decisions get taken of for want of an optimal kind of a option or choice. So you do take a less optimal decision, knowing fully well that it will only have a tactical effect, not a
No,
strategic
I'll
effect.
put it this way, sir. Knowing Trump, knowing USA, knowing everything, they could take this decision that, look, I'm going to do this, right? This is only the start. I'll do this and stop. Come and negotiate. If you don't, the gun restarts again. And
They
this
can definitely
continues.
do that.
So there
They
is
can
that.
miscalculate. They can miscalculate
No,
because
that
the
is
risk of a
miscalculation
push.
can happen everywhere, sir. Look,
Exact.
I'm not. Miscalculations are inherent in every option which is there so far.
Absolutely.
In fact, this whole story has been a story of miscalculation. The fact that the very fact that Israel thought that they can denuclearize Iran itself is a miscalculation right from day one. On that, not I don't have a doubt about it.
What I'm saying is
Right.
that Iran might not take it. Iran might not agree to get bombed at two,
Everything.
three, four places.
Right. So yeah.
Iran may not agree to that, and Iran will definitely, in that case, Iran will retaliate, and that
Okay.
retaliation will take the things forward. Now,
No,
calculation that
no,
Iran
no,
might make.
no, sir. No, I'll also put it this way. As much as Israel might be running out of ammunition, so will Iran run out of ammunition. It's not as if.
Absolutely, absolutely,
So even
exactly.
Iran,
But
as days go by, Iran will also
Iran has
be
more manpower.
constrained.
Iran has more manpower.
No, no,
Iran
sir.
can make those rudimentary weapon systems much faster.
So, I mean, the kind of effect which those rudimentary weapon systems will have on Israel, or even for that matter, on this thing is difficult. And Iran would not like to close Strait of Hormuz and all that because if they do that, they're cutting their own feet. So there are ways. I mean, you can argue it both ways, but let's leave it at that. That everyone has options. Everyone has problems in these options, and what we will have to see going ahead is which will be adopted. Right. Okay. Now let's get out of this thing. Uh, Where do you see China in this whole story now? Because so far, China he has said he's given a 4-point formula, Xi Jinping, which has no value, and no one is bothered about it. And from what I can make out, and it's also the international opinion that China doesn't seem to have the capacity to do anything here. And China is just will have to keep getting marginalized because China got marginalized when Syria broke up. Even here he's marginalized, so it's just getting marginalized and it's not being able to help anyone. So do you think China can do anything, or is this entire assessment wrong?
You see, simple thing is this, that you can't get anything today, but hope to get something tomorrow. You will
Tomorrow.
wait for tomorrow. Now, if the present situation has so far not harmed China's interests seriously, they continue to get Iranian oil at almost the same rate with minor escalation. Uh, their own troops are not involved. Americans are facing a choice, a difficult choice to make. Uh, so China is not spoiling its relations with Iran in any case. And the moment the war stops, China will bring in his big bucks and big ships and big, bulk oil carriers. So they will recoup that in very short time. Whatever losses, diplomatic losses or economic losses they face, they'll recoup that in very quick time because they have the capacity, they have the resources readily available, and that's the advantage. Like in a stock market, if you have the money available, when the prices go down, you buy up more stock easily. If you don't have any reserves, then obviously you are a loser. So similarly, China has that deep pocket, so they can do that. Uh,
Yeah, though I
Obviously,
disagree with you, but it's
if the war,
okay.
if the stakes go up, if the war goes up, I mean, if Americans join in, and if the Strait of Hormuz is closed and all that happens, then China will suffer because China also imports 30 to 40% of its oil from through Strait of
This it.
Hormuz. So they are
Yeah.
going to suffer quite a lot in case the balloon goes up. So looking
Yeah.
at it from that simply from a practical point of view, China would be
Mm,
happy if
mm,
this war does not expand. But at the same time, they will also try and they'll also try and sort of, what should I say, rationalize it by saying that if America gets involved in Iran, America gets weaker, and therefore they have a great stronger hand with vis-a-vis Philippines. They have stronger hand vis-a-vis Taiwan. So they'll try and make
yeah.
best use of opportunistic use
So
of
fine.
whatever the howsoever situation develops.
Yeah. I go with you. So China will see opportunity both ways, though logically, I mean, I will not say logically, but if you view China in its entirety, at this point of time, China is fully on the back foot because they have too many internal problems. And I don't
Yeah.
think they'll come out of it. And I don't think they have deep pockets because their economy is hemorrhaging very badly. So they have issues. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
We'll leave that at that. Do you think a regime change is possible in Iran?
Regime change is possible anywhere, leave alone Iran. There are a large number of people who are against the regime, of course, and the very fact that Israelis have been able to make dents into their security is also because there are enough number of dissidents strongly opposed to the regime. And in any closed system like Iran is, obviously there are factions within the ruling cliques also. And anytime that a regime changes, someone close to the top bosses only comes and takes the next position. That's how it happens. Historically, it happens like that because they understand the levers of power, they understand people, they know who controls
Yeah.
which part of society. So that is one part. Second is that look, it's a simple thing. Outsiders forcing a regime change makes it difficult to change the regime.
It has to be from inside.
Yes, so letting the people themselves come out with grievances and then helping them, letting dissidents, come out and survive, uh, give them economic incentives, politically interfere, and all those kinds of things. Those softer options make it much easier for a regime change operation to be successful. The hard options, like they did in Libya, or they did in Iraq and in Afghanistan, really don't do any good to anybody, even to those who initiate the regime change and the people in aid of whom they have been acting. I mean, these options are bad options. I don't think at this moment Iran is ready for a regime change. One doesn't see that upheaval in society as such. It's much rather people are rallying around the flag, and
Yeah.
the beneficiaries are the hardliners. And like you said, Khamenei has already nominated three people. In fact, they've
Three.
shown the remarkable capability to replace. the people who have been removed so
Yeah.
quickly, effortlessly. So, which shows us as a functional system, a very strongly functional system. It was unlike other countries like Syria or Lebanon or I mean Iraq or Libya, etc., or including Tunisia, where system simply collapsed. In Iran,
Yeah.
the system is much more functional, much stronger. So I don't think regime change is very much on the
Mm.
cards immediately. I don't think so.
Right. Thanks a lot, sir. I think we've covered. Is there anything else? Otherwise, we have in about 10 minutes, we'll take a few questions with your
Yeah, I
thing.
think we'll take a
Yeah,
question.
we'll do
That'll be
that.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. At the outset, Ishan Gadekar, thanks a lot for becoming a member with Ghana Shot. Right. Okay. It was earlier stated that Op Sindoor was stopped for this operation by USA. If this ends in a stalemate, would it not be a victory for China, both economically and politically?
Well, don't think we should conflate these issues.
Yeah,
It's just not easy to conflate. Sindoor was
yeah,
stopped for different reasons because we started off by saying that our aim is to punish the terrorists and the terrorists to destroy the terrorist infrastructure, and we have no desire to continue war if Pakistan does not really retaliate. So, and we stopped it when Pakistanis came asking for a ceasefire. We stopped because we never wanted to continue. Please
yeah,
understand this, and particularly our young friends need to understand this. India does not want a war. Definitely not for 20 to 30 years. We don't want war. And if we have to fight a war for reasons of our national security, or reasons of prestige or anything like that, we would want it to keep it short. We,
yeah.
we don't want that war. So USA taking credit of it is not really right.
It's
It has
okay.
been proved already. Now, second is, if this ends in a stalemate, would it not be a victory for China, both economic and politically? Look, every country would try and make the best out of this situation. Even we would not mind re-engaging with Iran immediately after this conflict is over. In fact, we haven't stopped talking to them. And the result is what? You know that Mahan Airlines flight that took off from Tehran today was only the second flight after the war has started, and the other one has gone to Muscat. The second one has come to India. They have opened the no-fly zone, removed the no-fly zone for Indian people to be evacuated from there. So that is the depth of our,
Options.
relationship with Iran, and our relationship with Israel is well known. So we would also try and make the best of the situation once the war stops, because Iran is important to us. China would definitely
Yeah,
try and do that, but I don't think it's a victory by China. Definitely not. China hasn't done anything positive, anything that
yeah,
to
I think so. So I
say
think
the victory out
yeah,
of
right. Next thing is Surya Prakasam Susarla. Hats off to Indian Army personnel's analytical ability, strategic war tactics, and no double gaming. Look, why took this comment. Thanks a lot, Surya Prakasam, for giving this. Why I gave this is some of you are commenting that look, he's speaking for this and speaking for that. Please remember, when you come to Ghana Shot, you'll hear views from everyone. And we in the Indian Army, we analyze it 360 degrees. Okay. We are taught to analyze 360 degrees. You should know in any kind of a situation, you come to analysis, this analysis is not going to be from one lens. This is not going to be a right wing lens or a left wing lens or an Indian lens or a foreign lens or an Iranian lens or a Israeli lens or a US lens. We will do this as professionally in a 360-degree way. And it is important for all of you to understand what are the options available with each of these countries. It's a war going on. It's a national level war where people are dying, right? You and I are sitting on the tube and just talking. Please understand that. And it's a matter of life and death for people out there. Like Brigadier Dahiya and I, we've seen this at some level in close quarters. We know the gravity of what we are speaking. So just don't shoot your mouths off and start, talking. And don't react to trollers also, please. See, some of these trollers will come and troll. Let them troll. It doesn't matter. Don't get emotionally involved in this whole game. We are here to do a professional thing, and that's where we should, right? Okay. Uh, Yeah. Yeah, from Bharat's point of view, should any Muslim nation from Suez Canal to Malacca Strait be allowed to get nuclear weapons? Shouldn't Bharat have no second Pak policy? So if Israel is stopping Iran, good. That's your view. Uh, well, I wouldn't agree with it because every nation has a right to do what it wants to do. Okay, no nation you won't like, okay, anyone trying to stop your nuclear program from going ahead. So if that is the thing, give respect back, and every nation will do what it is good for in its own, interest. So you might like to add on to it, sir.
Yeah, you see, there are two points of view from which you can have a look at it. One is the religious part that you brought in, the Muslim or non-Muslim. It doesn't really matter. I mean, a nuclear weapon in anybody's hands is not a good thing to have. But if one has, then the second one can also have. So here comes the moral issue. If Israel has weapons, it has no business to be trying to stop others. I mean, Israel is not a signatory to NPT. Israel hasn't taken anybody's permission to go nuclear. It has 80 to 100, 200 nuclear weapons anywhere in between. And therefore, if it says, I have the right to keep my nuclear weapons, but I won't allow anybody else to have nuclear weapons, morally, it is absolutely wrong. Then comes geopolitics. In geopolitics, if I have the nuclear weapons, I would try and make sure that nobody else has that, because that's the currency of power. So, therefore, I don't think we should look at it from this point of view. If Pakistan is a problem for India, then Pakistan should be a problem for the whole world as well. But the whole world doesn't look at it. The way Munir was, offered some very good lunch at the White House shows that they try and countries have the relationship not based on religion, but based on their own personal interests.
Personal
So therefore,
interests.
I think we should look at this issue not from a religious point of view at all. We should
We should,
we should have,
yeah,
of course, a consideration. India, for example, would not like anybody else to have weapons. No, neither Russia nor China nor anybody. Nobody wants any other country to have nuclear weapons. But at the end of it, any country which feels threatened enough, which feels that it faces existential threat, and if it can afford to go nuclear, it will go nuclear.
yeah. Regime change in Iran cannot happen. The radical regimes stay very strong because they do not allow any other camps to consolidate. Your view, sir.
My view is simple. Regimes sometimes explode. You see, in 2011, 2015, the situation in Syria was so bad that Bashar al-Assad was literally nominally ruling over one third of the territory. ISIS had taken over one third, and the other one third was by under other groups and all that. So what happened? Russia came in. They had some good commanders like General Sohail Ahmed, who just moved from place one, defeated terrorists at one place, went to other place, then third place and fourth place. And what happened? A situation came then when he became dominant. He became dominant again and recaptured, I mean, or reasserted authority over more than two-thirds of Syria. But last year, what happened?
It just
The
imploded.
regime, I mean, simply collapsed. And it collapsed in the sense that a small terrorist group like HTS moved out of Idlib, and within a few days, everything was gone. So the radical regime can also explode. Question simply is that what are the means that are being employed to explode? If they can make a mistake, for example, if they surrender, they in any case are gone. If they sort of take a very very offensive view of just challenging America, then and they come and destroy many things and all that, people can again rise. So if they get weakened so much, they can go. If they make a major mistake, they can go. But at the moment, the fact that the Iranian people are feeling that their choices are being forced by outsides by bombing them, it is likely that the regime will survive for the time being.
Yeah, right. So fine. So look, Thanks a lot, sir, for your views. I think you put across a complete everyone's we've discussed, all three sides. And like I completely agree with you. We're going into a pause. In this pause, what will happen is the Americans will take stock whether they should go in or not. That's one. In the meanwhile, these people will keep, firing at each other and destroying. Some more damage to the nuclear installations will take place. There'll come a time when they'll all get fed up and then they'll start, you know, getting their off ramps. Already the indications are there. That's why I said another 2, 3, 4 days, maybe a week, 10 days, they'll start talking peace because that's how it is. And wars are costly businesses. And we also have to understand that, like you rightly said, Israel has been at war from, quite a long time, from October, 7th of October. So they also have, war fatigue would be setting in. And Iran has had so much damage, they would also this thing. So let us see how it goes. In the meanwhile, I would request all of you don't get emotional in this whole story. We have to view it from a Indian perspective as to what's coming ahead, and we'll lead up to those discussions later, right? And that's how I look at it. And I also like to thank SB from joining us as a YouTube member. Sir, anything you want to say? Otherwise, we'll close the show, sir.
I think we'll talk about it next 10 days time
Yeah,
when things will
next
be much
10,
more
10 days
clearer.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. You put a lot of
Thanks.
things in
My
perspective.
pleasure.
So we'll speak
My
of
pleasure.
this. And yeah, till then, thank you. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you. And sir, Jai Hind to you also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Same to you, sir. Bye.